Hey everybody, Weston here with the Hidden Gibbon, and today I'm not going to be talking about magic. I'm going to give you fair warning. What I'm going to be talking about is pretty heavy, pretty not good, and I don't blame anybody for clicking off. I don't blame anybody for unsubscribing. It is what it is, but I can't say nothing. So, for those of you in the United States, I'm sure you've seen the news and everything that's been going on lately, and for those of you outside of the United States, it's probably even bled into what you've seen there. So I'm going to give some background here. I'm a pretty big history fan, right? Like I studied history extensively in school. My major for a while was history before I switched it to social work, and I still to this day love and collect history. You can see behind me my display case over there. And in that display case are a lot of items from World War II. One of the darkest moments in human history. There's artifacts in there from the Allies, from the Axis. There's stuff from fascist Germany and fascist Japan in there. And we all know what those two nations did. You know, we had the death camps from Germany, and in Japan we had the massacre at Nanjing and everything they did against the people of China, the comfort women and forced labor that they did to the Korean people. Unit 731. Not good. And we learn about those things here in America in high school and a little bit, in middle school. We learn about the big events. We learn about the death camps. We learn about things like the Bataan Death March. But it isn't very often, especially in high school and middle school, that we learn about the things that led to those. We always see the large impacts, right? We always hear about the big things. We don't learn about things like the beer hall push or the Night of Long Knives, or even the things that led to those. And right now, because I've studied quite a bit in the U.S. Of history here, and because I pay attention a lot of the things that are happening in the United States right now really, really scare me. I am seeing a lot of the things that lead to some of those dark moments in human history. I'm seeing a deliberate campaign of fear, of terror, of harassment. Our government tells us that they're only going after criminals, the worst of humanity. But we can see with our own very eyes as they target innocent folks who just want to live their lives and have a better life for their family. They target immigrant communities, indiscriminately been targeting people of color, which we have seen on video time and time again, targeting those who stand up and protest against these sort of things, the people who want to watch after their communities. And it's really scary. And that's what they want. They want us to be afraid. They want us to say nothing. They want us to do nothing. And I get it. I do. I get folks wanting to turn the other way. I've had conversations with friends and people I care about what to do in times like these. For those of you who have watched my channel, my wife is a naturalized citizen. She was adopted at one from Korea, and to a wonderful family. My in-laws are some of the best people that you could ever meet on this planet. And my wife and I had to have the discussion because ICE and Border Patrol have been targeting people just by the way they look. of my wife carrying her passport with her wherever she goes. Because they're not accepting driver's licenses as valid proof that people are U.S. citizens. And we have had to have the talk about having her citizenship to Korea restored so that if things get bad enough, I can send her and my daughter there where they will be safe and won't have to worry about things like that. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Those of you who haven't clicked off. Oh, you're overreacting. Oh, you're just some bleeding heart liberal. Well, it's true I'm a lefty. I worked for Bernie Sanders on his 2020 campaign. I worked in progressive politics during that whole cycle. But I wasn't always a leftist. Nope. I grew up in rural Iowa, in a very small, very conservative town. Almost everybody I knew, very conservative. And for a long time I held those conservative beliefs. Hell, the first presidential election I could vote in, the 2008 election, I voted for John McCain. But then I started seeing the party that I belonged to not reflect the ideals of the party of Lincoln. I was gone. I saw the Tea Party, things rise, and I'm very much a person that once I get information and once I see facts, I couldn't look at history and couldn't hold my personal moral beliefs and remain conservative, to be honest with you. Now, all I want in life and all I want for others in life is to have their basic needs met and for them to live happy lives where they don't have to worry. And right now, people have to worry. We saw what happened with Renee Good. We saw what happened with Alex Preddy. And I hope and I pray that it stops. But as a student of history, I can tell you, it won't. Nor has it ever stopped. This has happened many times in our history. This isn't even the first time that protesters, this isn't even the first time that ISIS executed people. Just a few months ago. And then we see reports of abuse inside of facilities. And what they want to tell you is that these people are the worst of humanity, and so they deserve it. I worked in law enforcement. I did. I worked as a detention officer for 5.5 years. And I can tell you, although there were people that were in the facility I worked in that were not good people, it was not up to me to decide to be an executioner or not. It's up to the law. It's up to a jury of their peers. ICE doesn't get to run around with impunity and just decide who lives and who dies. Just get to decide who to kidnap off the streets regardless if they're a citizen, not a citizen, legal status or not. Nobody deserves to have that happen. And we are in a dark, dark moment in U.S. history. And like I said, this isn't the first time it's happened. For those of you who have studied U.S. history at all, it harkens back to the days of the Civil Rights Movement, where the federal government was weaponized against black leaders. Several killed. Fred Hampton was killed by the FBI as he slept. The FBI tried to get Martin Luther King Jr. to end his own life. They took out many black leaders during the Civil Rights Movement. Earlier than that, we saw the federal government weaponized against the indigenous peoples of the United States. They were forced from their homes, wiped out wholesale, and put on land that they don't even get a say in, and left to rot. we as a people and as a country must learn from our mistakes. We must do better. We can do better. But it is going to take people, regular people, you and me, to say enough is enough. To stand up and be there for our fellow neighbors. Like I said, I'm scared right now. I don't want to get a call that my wife has been snatched while out with my daughter. I don't want to hear that my coworkers who are from immigrant communities are being harassed. And right now, I've talked to some of them. They're afraid because their communities are being targeted. I don't want to hear and get a message from one of my friends giving me instructions on what to do if ICE takes them. That should not happen in a healthy or just society. And I implore you and urge you that if you think that it is, I need you to look into your soul and ask yourself, is it truly something worth celebrating watching this happen? And right now there is some hope. People who I have never seen upset, people who I know have been conservatives their entire life, are finally saying enough is enough. And for some folks, it's like, well, it's about time. Well, as long as you wake up and you see what's happening is wrong, it's never too late to say something, because if you don't say anything, as the old quote goes, if you don't speak up in defense of other people, if you don't say anything, by the time they come for you, there won't be anyone to speak for you. I'm sorry that this one is it's pretty heavy. I know this is a magic channel. I know that this will lose me subscribers. But I cannot say nothing. And I cannot sit and see these things and just not encourage folks to watch out for their loved ones, their fellow neighbors, those people that you see every single day, people just like you and I. Take care of your neighbors. Watch out for them. Protect them. Be a good human being. I promise you that someday, when this is over, history will not look kindly on those that perpetrated this, and it certainly will not look kindly on those who cheered it on. You can choose to be one of the people who cheers on terror, fear, and destruction. Or you can choose to be somebody who helps. As the quote goes, all that is needed for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. What I'll do, and what I can do with what little power I have, is I can make this message. I know nobody will really see it. But what I'll also do is, before I put this up, I am going to do some research for some mutual aid networks from Minnesota, in the Minneapolis area, for organizations that help and protect our immigrant communities. I'll link those in a pinned comment. I'll link to legal defense funds if you know anybody who needs an immigration lawyer. And I'll link to any other resources that I can find that help folks right now. Spread those things far and wide. All I want to do is help. Yeah. Again, sorry that this one's so heavy. I promise I'll be back to magic content tomorrow or the next day, because honestly, these videos and this channel really helps me get through a lot of this stress that I've been going through for a while now, worrying. Weston with the Hidden Given. And we can do better. Stay safe. Have a good day.